Hello students, welcome to this new video on my channel. This is me Sunil Makhijani, your very own physics teacher, and today the topic on which we are going to discuss, that topic is, that's right, center of mass. Center of mass is a very important topic and it comes under rotation motion chapter. Okay, so today in short, first of all we will discuss the theory in a short way, whatever the theory is required for NEET exam point of view, and then we will also go for many numericals on center of mass. So stay tuned with me. And now first of all I will tell you which are the subtopics in the center of mass. So in all there are two subtopics in the center of mass which a student must do. These subtopics are its location of center of mass and motion of center of mass. Now in the location of center of mass there can be the problems in which they will ask you to find out that where is the center of mass located. Okay, every body or every given system has center of mass, so we need to find where exactly it is located. In the second type, in the motion of center of mass, there can be the problems in which they can ask you that find out the displacement of center of mass, or how much is the velocity of center of mass, or what is the acceleration of center of mass of a body or a given system. So these are the two topics that are there. So one by one we will do. First of all, I am telling you the theory related to the location of center of mass. So let's get started. Okay, so this is the first point. Center of mass of a discontinuous system of particle. Now what do we mean by this? Suppose if we are having one system, let's say this is a system. Okay. Inside the system there are large number of particles. It may be 2 particle, 3 particle, or any number of particle, but the mass of this particle I am writing as m1, the mass of second particle is m2, mass of third particle m3, and m4, and so on. Okay, now what is discontinuous system? If these all masses present in the system, if these all masses are different from each other, m1 may not be equal to m2, they are different, plus there is a gap between m1 and m2, there is not a continuous arrangement of particles. So such system is called as discontinuous system. In such system, as you already know, if you want to find the center of mass, the x coordinate of center of mass is given by m1 x1 plus m2 x2 and so on up to the last particle, divided by m1 plus m2 so on up to the last particle. Okay, so this is a formula that you need to keep it in mind when you are dealing with a center of mass of discontinuous system. Okay, it's easy. Now the way I have written the formula for x coordinate of the center of mass, same way there is a formula for y coordinate of center of mass, and also same is a formula for z coordinate of center of mass. Okay, so for discontinuous system this formula is there. Next point I am going. If you want to find the center of mass of continuous system of particle, continuous system of particle. Now what is the example of continuous system? Look at this. Suppose if we are having a long rod like this. Okay, it's a long rod and we need to find a center of mass of this rod. So rod is the example of continuous system. Why? Because inside the rod, from suppose if we start from left end, from one end of the rod, if you keep on moving towards the other end, continuously you will get a particles. There will not be any gaps. There will be the continuous arrangement of the particles. So such arrangement in which all particles are continuously placed, such system is known as continuous system. In case of continuous system, what you need to do? First of all, in this kind of a system, first step is you have to fix up the origin. Suppose on the left end of this rod I am fixing up the origin. Okay, now then you need to assume that entire rod is divided into small pieces. The entire rod is made up of joining small pieces. Okay, see this one piece I am showing. Imagine that this piece, you can see, this piece is known as element. Okay, we need to assume that entire rod is made by joining such elements. The mass of each element we take as a dm, Okay, and since we have already set up the origin, so the distance of this particle from the origin is, let's say, x. Okay, you can say x is the x coordinate of this element. So here, to find x coordinate of center of mass, the formula is integration of x dm divided by integration of dm. This is a formula to be used to find the center of mass of a continuous system. Okay, so remember, for continuous system we had to do integration. Okay, but for discontinuous system, this formula we need to use. Okay, let's move to the other theory point. Okay, so next point is center of mass of two particle system. Okay, so here, as the name suggests, there will be only two particles. See this diagram. One particle has a mass m1 while other particle has mass m2, and these particles are separated by the distance, let's say, d. Okay, now it's obviously a discontinuous system which consists of only two particles. Now here, center of mass is, suppose over here, this is center of mass. So all of you know that center of mass is always near to the heavier side. So if m2 is greater than m1, center of mass will be near the m2. Now distance of center of mass from m1 is d1 and distance from m2 is d2. Okay, now here you need to remember some formulas. d1 is given by m2 divided by m1 plus m2 into d. Okay, this is a formula for finding d1. Similarly, there is a formula to find out d2. d2 is given by m1 divided by m1 plus m2 into d. Okay, here you have to obviously remember this formula. Okay, here in front of d1, see, m2 is present, divided by m1 plus m2, that is total mass, into d. This d is a total distance, and here in formula of d2, m1 is there. Opposite things. From these two equations, on solving, we can also get this result, that m1 d1 is equal to m2 d2. This also we can easily find. m1 d1 equals to m2 d2. Okay, this third equation that I have written, this equation can be written as d1 by d2 is equal to m2 by m1. Okay, we are getting d1 by d2 equals to m2 by m1. So I can say the ratio of distances is equal to inverse ratio of the masses. Okay, remember these all points. It's a center of mass of two particle system. Now I'm moving to the next point. Now, center of mass of various geometric shape. Okay, around us there are many bodies which are having a particular geometric shape. Some geometrical shapes are circle, rectangle, triangle, parallelogram, cylinder, cube, and so on. So we have to find center of mass of such geometrical shapes. In this one, you have to remember very first point. First one point you have to remember. Remember that center of mass of any body, if you take any body, its center of mass always lies on its axis of symmetry. It's a property of center of mass that it always lies on the axis of symmetry. But every body do not have axis of symmetry. If the body has axis of symmetry, then only this point is valid. So if any axis of symmetry is there, then only we can say this. Remember this point. Okay, so using this point we can find center of mass of some regular object. If we are having an equilateral triangle, in case of equilateral triangle, you must remember the point where all three medians cut each other. This point is called as centroid. The centroid is nothing but center of mass of equilateral triangle. In case of circular body, the center of the circle is also center of mass. In case of rectangular or a square body, the points where diagonals cut each other, this point, it is known as center of mass. Okay, So these are the very easy objects. Now I am telling you center of mass of some difficult objects also. Okay, so some more objects, let's say. In case of a wire which is bent in the form of semicircle, let's say it's a wire bent in the form of semicircle, so it is known as semicircular ring. In that case, if you observe, O is the center of the circle, y-axis is the axis of symmetry. Look at the y-axis, it's the axis of symmetry. So as you know, center of mass always lies on axis of symmetry. So center of mass will lie on y-axis at a distance of 2r by pi from the point O. At a distance of 2r by pi, where r is the obviously radius of the ring. Here in case of semicircular disc, disc is different from the ring. In case of solid semicircular disc, the center of mass again lies on this y-axis at a distance of 4r by 3 pi. Okay, 4r by 3 pi. Now sometimes student often forgets that where to write 2r by pi, where to write 4r by 3 pi. So I would suggest first you remember 2r by pi. In this term 2r by pi, see the numbers present in numerator and denominator. In the numerator 2 is present, in the denominator 1 is present. These both numbers will increase by 2, means 2 became 4 over here, and here in the denominator 1 pi is there, so 1 pi became 3 pi, means numerator and denominator both increase by 2, so it becomes 4r by 3 pi. This way you have to remember somewhat. So semicircular ring and disc is clear. Now I'm telling you some more shapes. Okay, so next object is hemisphere. Now in hemisphere there are two cases. It can be a hollow hemisphere or it can be a solid hemisphere. First let's do with a hollow hemisphere. Look at this diagram. In case of hollow hemisphere, this is a y-axis, it's axis of symmetry. It's passing through O point. O is a center of the circular base. Okay, so you can say O is the center of the sphere also. Now here center of mass will be somewhere here, and this distance of center of mass from the bottom, this distance is r by 2. Means in case of hollow hemisphere, center of mass is located at a r by 2 distance, means at the middle point. It's exactly in the middle. Okay, see, look at this. This is the top of the hemisphere and this is the bottom of the hemisphere. The center of mass is exactly at 50% height, that is r by 2. But this sphere can be a solid hemisphere also, right? So if the given sphere is a solid hemisphere, okay, then in that case, this if I take as a y-axis, okay, and then this will be center of mass. The center of mass is located at a distance of 3r by 8. Okay, now here some student can't remember this, how it is 3r by 8 or how to remember this. So I would suggest first you come to r by 2. It's easy to remember r by 2. R by 2 can be written as 4r by 8. Yes, r by 2 is same as 4r by 8. So remember this way. In case of hollow, it's 4r by 8. So in case of solid, it is 3r by 8. Okay, 4r by 8, and here it is 3r by 8. Okay, now you can imagine this way also. First you take a hollow hemisphere. In hollow hemisphere, center of mass is at 4r by 8 distance. Now if you fill up the mass in the hollow hemisphere, on filling up the mass in the hollow hemisphere will become solid. Okay, but when it becomes solid, there will be more mass in the bottom as compared to the top. In the bottom there will be more mass compared to the top. So since there is more mass in the bottom, hence center of mass will be shifted downward. So height of center of mass decreased. That's why from 4r by 8 it become 3r by 8. Means center of mass has come down. Okay, this way you can understand. So this is hollow hemisphere and solid hemisphere. Let's move to the next geometrical shape. Okay, now the object that we are studying is cone. And cone also two possibilities are there. It may be a hollow cone or it may be a solid cone. Okay, first let's see hollow cone. Here as you can see in the diagram, this h is a vertical height of the cone. Now center of mass somewhere lies over here. This is, let's say, center of mass. The distance of center of mass from the base of the cone, this distance is h by 3. H by 3 means 33% of the height of the cone. Here center of mass is located. Okay, so in case of hollow cone it is h by 3. But now if it is given solid cone, let's say this is solid cone, okay, of vertical height h. Okay, so in case of solid cone, the center of mass lies little bit downward. It is lying at the height of h by 4. Okay, now here also if you are having confusion how to remember, first of all understand h by 3 is means 33% of the height, total height. H by 4 means just 25% of the total height. Okay, so how to remember these two? First you take hollow cone. In hollow cone, the center of mass is at a 1/3 distance, that is h by 3. Now in hollow cone, if I fill up the mass, if I fill up mass in the hollow cone, okay, so it will become solid. So in the solid cone there will be mass, but there will be more mass in the bottom of the cone as compared to its peak. Peak is very narrow, so in the peak less mass will be there, in the bottom it will be more mass over here. So since more mass in the bottom will be heavier, the center of mass will shift downward. So from h by 3 height it comes to h by 4 height. That is from 33% height it comes to 25% height. So this way you can remember. These are the different shapes that you need to remember. I hope this point is very clear. So here we finished center of mass of different geometrical shapes. Okay, now I am discussing some numericals on these topics. Okay, let's see some numericals. Okay, so here is a very first question on center of mass. Okay, it's an MCQ. I suggest if you have already done this topic very well, you can pause the video and try this question on your own. Okay, even after trying, if you are not getting the answer, then only you please see the solution. Okay, so now I am starting with a solution of this problem. Now if you want to be good at the numericals of the physics problems, if you want to be good at, so first thing is always imagine what is given in the question. You need to visualize the things. If you are not able to visualize, you should draw a diagram, and using diagram you should visualize. So first of all, diagram plays a very important role. So I am drawing diagram for this particular question. See, suppose this is hydrogen and this one is chlorine. Okay, the distance between them is 1.27 angstrom. That is 1.27 angstrom is the total distance between them. This I am denoting by D. Okay, now here it is clearly given that the mass of the chlorine is 35.5 times more than hydrogen, right? So suppose mass of hydrogen I am taking as m, so mass of chlorine will be 35.5 times m, right? Okay, now we need to find center of mass. Where is the location of center of mass? Obviously chlorine is heavier, so center of mass will be closer to will be near to the chlorine. Okay, let's suppose a distance of center of mass from hydrogen, it's d1, and distance of center of mass from chlorine is d2, right? So we need to find distance of center of mass from hydrogen. Let's say we want to find d1. So you know what is the formula for d1? D1 formula is m2 divided by m1 plus m2 into d, right? You know this formula. Now we have to just substitute values. Here m2 means chlorine, so it will be 35.5 m divided by m1 plus m2 will be 35.5 m plus m into this total distance d, it is 1.27 angstrom, so it is multiplied by 1.27 angstrom. Now when you solve the bracket, you will get 35.5 m divided by 36.5 m, so mm gets cancelled, you will get this thing. Now you don't have to really solve this calculation. We can solve this calculation by some logic. Okay, here if you look at the first term, we are having 35.5 divided by 36.5. Roughly it is 35 by 36. Now you should understand that this division 35 by 36 will be approximately 0.9. It will be in the order of 0.9. Okay, so this will be approximately 0.9 into 1.27. Now when you multiply 1.27 with 0.9, definitely answer will be slightly lesser than 1.27. So answer is going to be 1.24 angstrom from the given options. 1.24 seems to be correct. Okay, that's why C is option. Okay, so try to understand it. It's easy question. Okay, clear? I hope it is clear. Okay, let's move to the second problem. Okay, so here is the second problem now. You can read the question and pause the video and try this question on your own. Okay, now suppose if you want to solve this question, it's a case of system of two particles, right? So I'm just drawing diagram for this. Let's say these are the two particles, mass m1 and m2. Let's say this is a distance between them. Distance between them is not given. Okay, so, and we don't have to take anything. Let's say this is center of mass of this both. Now distance of center of mass from the two particles from m1 m2, this distance is also not given. This distance is also not given at all. So what you do, we'll just take any symbol. Let's say I'm calling this as a d1 and this distance I'm calling as d2. This is not given actually. Okay, so from here I can write one equation that m1 d1 is equal to m2 d2. Okay, now just look at the diagram again. Now it is given that m1 is shifted to towards the center of mass by the distance d. This way. Okay, so m1 is shifted to the new place. Obviously if you shift m1, the center of mass also may shift. Now we want to displace m2 also, so that center of mass remains at the original position only. Okay, so now here actually we are not knowing that center m2 should be shifted to right or left. If, now listen carefully, if you are shifting m1 to the right and if you shift m2 also to the right, means entire system is shifted to the right. So center of mass will also shift to right, but we don't want center of mass to shift. That's why m2 should be shifted to the left side. Okay, try to understand. If m1 is shifted to the right side, if you shift m2 also to the right side, then obviously center of mass will also shift to the right side, because the entire setup is shifted to the right. But if you want to keep center of mass at same place, then m1 shifted to the right, so m2 you shift to the left to nullify. Now suppose m2 is shifted by the distance y. So y, I can say y is a displacement of m2. Okay, and what is d in the diagram? D is given in the question also over here. D is a displacement of m1. Okay, now if you remember how we have written equation 1, m1 d1 equals to m2 d2, same way now we will write the equation with by taking the new positions. See, m1 is now over here, m1 is over here, so distance of m1 from center of mass, it is d1 minus d. So we can write m1 into its distance, that is d1 minus d, equals to m2. Now look at it, distance of m2 is over here, so distance of m2 from cm will be d2 minus y. This. Okay, just multiply m1 inside. Right. Now for using equation 1, m1 d1 is equal to m2 d2, so they get cancelled. Negative sign gets cancelled. We need to find y. So you just solve it. Y will come m1 by m2 into d. So this is a distance by which a second mass should be shifted to keep center of mass at a same place. Okay, so answer is m1 by m2 into d. This B option seems to be correct. Okay, I hope you got this question. Is it clear? Okay, we'll go to the next problem now. Okay, so this is the next question. You can read the question and try it on your own. Okay. Now suppose if you are not getting the answer, look at it. First of all, it's a case of a rod. Okay, so I'm drawing the one rod in front of you. Let's say it's a rod. Okay, but this rod is not made up of a uniform material. As the question says, its linear density, the density of this rod is changing with a distance. Okay, how to understand? Let's say here you take at one end, you take as the origin. Okay, this O is origin. Now assume that the entire rod is divided into large number of elements. The rod is divided into small elements. I am picking up one element. This is one element. Look at it. The mass of this element you take as dm. Okay, and suppose this element from the origin, it's located at x distance. So the element which is located at x distance, here this x we need to put here so that we can get density. Here the linear density is lambda, which is 2 plus x. Okay, the thickness of this particular element is, let's say, dx. Dx is the thickness of this particular element. Now what you have to do over here, first of all you take mass of the element dm, divide by length of the element, that is dx. Understand what is this? It's mass of element divided by its length. So it is mass per unit length, right? So it is mass per unit length. That means it's a linear density, but linear density is lambda. So dm by dx is equal to lambda. So dm is lambda times dx. Okay, here the value of lambda you can substitute as 2 plus x. So this is the value of dm. Okay, first of all understand that how we got this thing. Okay, remember, divide the rod into elements. One element which is at a x distance, here density will be 2 plus x. Okay, but density is also given by dm upon dx. So using that you need to reach to this equation. Now I hope you remember how to find x coordinate of center of mass. The x coordinate of center of mass can be found by integration of x dm divided by integration of dm. Remember, here just substitute this dm in this equation. So it you have x into, put the value of dm. Okay, I hope you got this. Okay, just solve this integration part. It will be integration of 2x plus x square dx divided by integration of 2 plus x dx. Okay, when you solve this integration, obviously you can solve it, it's easy. You'll get x square plus x cube by 3 divided by 2x plus x square by 2. This much integration you can solve easily. Now only we have to put the limits. Okay, since the length of the rod is 3 meter, okay, the entire length is 3 meter. Look at the diagram, this is 3 meter. Okay, so this, for this particular element, this x I have taken, this x can change from 0 to 3. Limits will be from 0 to 3. Okay, just put the limits and solve it on your own. On solving it, I'm leaving up to you, the answer will come 12 by 7. That is, center of mass is located at a 12 by 7 distance from origin. So this is the answer. Okay, so I hope you got this. Okay, now some question we tried on location of center of mass. Now we will do somewhat more theory. Now we'll discuss the motion of center of mass. Okay, now we'll start with another theory, motion of center of mass. Now here, you just remember what we had, suppose this is any body or any system maybe. Okay, this system consists of many particles, let's say m1, m2, m3, so on. So there will also be a center of mass. This is suppose center of mass. Now what happens if suppose this system starts moving in this direction, if it start moving in this direction, so obviously all the particles will move, there will be displacement of all particles. Okay, here you can remember one simple formula, that dx is a displacement of the center of mass is equal to m1 displacement dx1 plus m2 displacement dx2 up to last particle divided by m1 plus m2 and so on. Okay. Obviously it's this formula is very simple, you can remember it. Here dx1 dx2 are the displacements of different masses, and in the LHS dxcm it's a displacement of center of mass. If you look at the formula, I have given an arrow over this. This arrow means it is a vector, displacement is obviously vector. If you feel that dx1 and dx2 are in opposite direction, then one we will take positive, other we has to take negative. So here the arrow indicates that you have to take care of direction also while discussing. Now here another formula to be remembered is velocity of center of mass is given by m1 v1 plus m2 v2 so on up to last particle divided by m1 plus m2 and so on. I hope you have seen this formula in the theory. Okay, same way there is a formula for acceleration of center of mass. It's m1 a1 plus m2 a2 so on divided by m1 plus m2 so on. Okay, these all formulas are really easy to remember. Okay, in the motion of center of mass topic, one more thing you need to remember. If this is a system, let's say it is a system, on the system, if suppose external force which is acting on the system is 0, okay, if external force is not acting on the system, then in such cases the center of mass remain in its same state. Okay, if suppose center of mass is at rest and force is not acting on a system, so center of mass will continue to remain at rest only. Okay, so this point I can write down this way: if external force is 0 on the system, then center of mass of the system, okay, remain unchanged. Means if center of mass is in whatever state, it remains in that state only. If suppose center of mass is at rest, it remains at rest only. If center of mass is moving, it keeps on moving only with the same velocity. Means center of mass do not accelerate, do not change the velocity. You can say the velocity of center of mass remain constant. Whatever is its velocity, it remain constant. Or remember in this way, we need some force to change the velocity of center of mass. Without force on a system, the center of mass will remain as it is. Okay, so this is a theory of motion of center of mass. Okay, so I hope you got these all points. Okay, now we will go for some numericals on the motion of center of mass. Okay, so let's start with problems on motion of center of mass. This is the very first question. Now you can pause the video and try this question. Okay, now let's start with a solution. As I told you already, first of all, let's draw a diagram to understand the question. Look at this diagram. Let's say it is a sphere of radius r and the mass m. This is another sphere of radius 2r, mass is 5m, and the distance between the center of these two spheres is 12r. Okay, now as given in the question, they are attracting each other with a gravitational force. So that force I am showing here. Look at it. This F is a gravitational force acting on them. Now here the main idea is that if we take these two spheres together as a one system, take these two spheres together as a one system. Okay, so if I consider that these spheres togetherly makes one system, then this F force which is acting, na, this F force is the internal force of the system. I can say external force on this system is 0. Okay, external force on the system is 0. Okay, remember this point. Now these two spheres, let's say they move towards each other and they ultimately collided. During collision also, look at this diagram. During collision also, the distance between centers will be 12r. The distance will be 3r. So from distance of 12r, ultimately distance between centers become 3r. That means the distance that these spheres have traveled, distance covered by these spheres is 9r. Right? These spheres have covered the distance of 9r. So out of that, we want to find out that how much distance smaller body has covered. Let's say a smaller body has covered the displacement of x. Okay, so obviously the larger sphere has covered the displacement of 9r minus x. Try to understand this. Before they collide, the smaller sphere, let's say it has covered the distance x. So the larger sphere has covered the distance 9r minus x. Okay, but as you can see in this diagram only, the displacement of the first ball and the displacement of second ball are in opposite direction. But as I told you, this external force acting on a system is 0. It is given. External force on the system is 0. That's why center of mass of the system will not move. Center of mass of the system will be at rest only. Remember, whenever there is no external force on a system, the center of mass of the system remains in the same state. It remains at rest only. That's why I can say displacement of center of mass will be 0. Okay, understand this point. You may be feeling it's very lengthy, so many things are there, but no, you are right now understanding. Once it is understood, you can do it very easily in a short time. So understand, I'm taking two balls together as a one system. External force on that system is 0. The gravitation force is an internal force, it is not external. So center of mass will not shift at all. Wherever center of mass is there, it will remain at that place only. So displacement of center of mass will be 0, but the displacement of the two balls will be x and 9r minus x. That too in the opposite direction. Okay, first make all these things clear and you can note it down also. Now I am clearing the screen and will write again. Okay, now you are aware with this formula. It's a formula for displacement of center of mass. Here, since only two bodies are there, that's why I have written m1 and m2 terms only. Now as I told you, displacement of center of mass was 0, so I will put this value as 0. When you put this one as 0, you will get m1 dx1 plus m2 dx2 equals to 0. Okay, on solving it, you will get m1 dx1 equals to minus of m2 dx2. Here negative sign indicate that the displacement dx1 and dx2 are in opposite direction. Okay, means if one ball is going right, the other will go to the left. Okay, now here m1 is the mass of the first ball that I am putting here. dx1 is the displacement of the first ball, that is x. m2 is the mass of second ball, which is 5m. dx2 is the displacement of second ball, which is 9r minus x. Okay, now anybody can solve this very easily. Okay, the mm gets cancelled from both sides. On solving this, ultimately you will get that 6x equals to 45r. Okay, 6x equals to 45r. Okay, but before we proceed, here small mistake we have committed that we have to rectify. This displacement dx2 we substituted as 9r minus x, but it should be taken as a minus of 9r minus x. dx2 should be taken negative, dx1 should be taken positive, because here directions of both of them are opposite to each other. So if you take dx2 as a negative, ultimately here plus sign will come. Okay, so the result will come 6x equals to 45r. Here if you solve, x will come as it will be coming 15 r by 2, which is 7.5 r. So this is the distance covered by the first sphere, smaller sphere, 7.5 r. That's why D is the correct option for this particular question. Okay, I hope you got this. Let's go with the next problem on the motion of center of mass. Okay, so this is the next question now. You can try it on your own also. Now, it's extremely easy actually. Here obviously two particles are there, let's say m1 and m2. Both of them are at rest. If both of these particles are at rest, the center of mass of the system will also be at rest, right? Now they are attracting each other by the mutual force of attraction. So that I can show this way, like this. Look at the diagram just. So just like a previous sum, I can say this F force which is there, this force of attraction, it's the internal force of the system. I can say external force on a system is 0. Okay, see, this is overall the system. Okay, on this system external forces are not there. This F is an internal force. So in absence of external force, center of mass remain at the same velocity. Whatever is its velocity, it remains same. So earlier center of mass was at rest, means its velocity of center of mass was 0. Now also velocity remains 0 only. It will not change at all. That's why A is the correct option for this particular question. It's a very easy question. Okay, so it has been asked in the PMD 2010. So such simple question also comes in the exam. Always be confident for yourself. It's not every question is difficult. Many questions are easy. Okay, let's go to the next question now. Okay, so this is the next question. Okay, here you can pause the video and try this question. Okay, now suppose if you are not getting the answer, see the solution. Here it is given that P is a point, okay, at which if we are applying force at P, the body is moving without rotation, means body is doing only translation motion. Actually it is a property of center of mass. Center of mass is that point at which if you apply directly force on the center of mass, the rotation is not possible, body do not rotate, it moves straight in a translation motion. So actually here we want to find center of mass only. The center of mass must be at P point and we need to locate P point only. Means basically it is indirect question, but actually we want to find center of mass only. We want to find distance of center of mass from C point. C is a bottom point. Now actually if you look at it, this body consists of one horizontal rod and another vertical rod like this. Look at this diagram. Okay, so such bodies which consist of two rods, horizontal, vertical, or three rods maybe, such body is known as composite bodies. Okay, so it is a question to find center of mass of composite body, right? Okay, so in this one what we have to do, you can look at the diagram given in the question. The length of first rod is L and the length of second rod is double, that is 2L. That's why what will happen, if the mass of horizontal rod is let's say M, the mass of vertical rod will be 2M, double. Okay, now look at this thing, see this dot, it is a center of mass of the horizontal rod. This I am naming as C1, and look at this point, look at this, it is a center of mass of the vertical rod, it is C2. Okay, and here we are having a C also. Okay, so what is the now benefit of C1, C2? C1 is the center of mass of the horizontal rod. We can assume that entire mass M is concentrated at a C1. For solving problems we can do that. And C2 is the center of mass of vertical rod. So we can assume that entire mass 2M of the vertical rod is focused on the C2. So now it become like a system of two particles. One particle is at C1, other particle is at C2. Let's say the combined center of mass of C1 C2, we have to find out that only. Combined center of mass must be somewhere here at point P. Okay, now what you do, take this C point as a origin. It is 0 comma 0. Okay, and in the vertical direction, let's say we are having a y-axis in the vertical direction. Now we need to write coordinates of C1 C2 and P. That's it. Now anybody can understand coordinates of C2 will be 0 comma L. Okay, now look at C1. C1, if I tell you in this diagram here, if I tell you here, the C1 will be somewhere here and C2 will be somewhere here. Okay, so it's clearly visible. C1 is at a distance of 2L. That's why coordinates of C1 will be 0 comma 2L. Okay, the coordinate of P point are 0 comma YCM, because P is the center of mass. Now it's like system of two particles, right? Okay, so remember this. You can apply this formula. Y coordinate of center of mass is given by m1 y1 plus m2 y2 divided by m1 plus m2. In place of m1, I will put the horizontal rod mass m. Its y coordinate I will put, which is 2L. In place of m2, I will put this mass 2m into its y coordinate, that is L, divide by m plus 2m. Okay, just solve it. It's anybody can easily solve it. It is in the numerator 4ml divide by 3m. mm gets cancelled. 4 by 3 of L. So this is a y coordinate of center of mass. That means center of mass is located at a distance of 4L by 3 from C point. Okay, that's why A is the correct option for this particular question. So I hope you got this. It's easy question, it's not very difficult. Remember, it's like two rods are there. One is horizontal, other is vertical. So it means it is a case of composite body which consists of two rods. C1 find out and C2 you find out. C1, C2 are the center of masses of two rods separately. Then treat this question as a two particle system. The entire mass of the rod is concentrated at C1 and C2 respectively. Okay, I hope you got this. Now I'm going to the next question. Okay, so this is the seventh question now. You can try this question. Now those who are not getting the answer, look at it. If you read the question says that there are only two masses which are connected with the help of a pulley. So the diagram for this particular question, if I draw, it will be somewhat like this, right? Okay, so one mass is m1, other is m2. m1 is greater than m2. So obviously when you leave them, the m1 will go down with acceleration, let's say a1, and m2 will go up, let's say with acceleration a2, right? Okay, this kind of a structure that I have drawn, this kind of a structure is also known as Atwood machine. Remember this. Okay, in this type of a situation, as we can see in the diagram, in this type of situation, we know that acceleration a1, that is of the first block, and acceleration a2, second block, both accelerations are in opposite direction. Both blocks will move in opposite direction, but the magnitude of accelerations, that is for both of them, that magnitude of acceleration is same, and that magnitude is, you might be remembering, it is m1 minus m2 upon m1 plus m2 into g. Okay, this you might have done in the laws of motion chapter. This is the acceleration with which both of these blocks move. Okay, magnitude of accelerations are same, but here we don't have to find acceleration of blocks. We want to find acceleration of center of mass of this system. Okay, for just visualization I am drawing here. Think here somewhere center of mass will be there. This is center of mass of combined system. As these blocks are moving, definitely center of mass also moves. So we need to find with what acceleration center of mass is moving. Okay, so formula you know already. It's m1 a1 bar plus m2 a2 bar divided by m1 plus m2. This is a formula for acceleration of center of mass. Now I need to just substitute the values. m1 here in this formula we will put magnitude of a1. Okay, this is a magnitude of a1, right? So whatever I'm doing, this magnitude I'm writing as a. So magnitude I'm writing as a. So here I'll put a. A is nothing but this one only. Okay. Now plus m2. Now a2. Here also a2 is there. Since a2 is opposite to a1. Okay. So a1 if you have taken as positive, so a2 you need to take negative. That's why I will put here negative sign. So see our convention. What I have done in the formula, I have taken a1 as positive over here. Means downward direction I have taken as positive. Huh? So it is my duty to take upward direction as negative. That's why a2 has to be negative. Okay. So that's why it is this way. Divided by m1 plus m2. Okay. Now here if you look at it, a is common in the bracket m1 minus m2 upon m1 plus m2. Okay. Now we need to just put the value of a. Already minus a, sign of a already we have put. Now just magnitude of this a. Magnitude of this a is this one. This you just need to substitute here. So when you substitute this value of a over here, you will get m1 minus m2 g divided by m1 plus m2, but here squaring will come like this. So ultimately this will be the acceleration of center of mass. Now look at it, the final result is automatically coming positive. The final result is coming positive. If final is coming positive means overall the acceleration of center of mass is downward. See, downward direction you took as positive. So final answer is also coming positive. That means the final acceleration of center of mass is also in the downward direction. Okay. So if anybody asks what's the direction of acceleration, it has to be downward. Okay. So ultimately this is the right answer for this particular question. And acceleration will be downward. Okay. In this problem I have taken downward direction as a positive. It is completely our choice. Okay. As long as it is not mentioned in the question, we can do anything. So here just understand why I took a2 as a minus a. Okay. So I hope it is clear to you. Let's go with the next question. Okay, so this is the next question now. Let's see how to solve this. As I said already, always draw the diagram for any particular question. Here they are saying that person is there who is standing at a height of 10 meter. Look at it. Okay. Actually it is a gravity free space. That's why the person can stand at a 10 meter distance from ground. Now the mass of the person is given 50 kilogram. Okay. So the person releases a stone like this. Okay. If you simply release the stone, actually it goes down. But in the gravity free space, it will not go down. So the person needs to throw this downward. Okay. The person throws this downward with a speed of 2 meter per second. Getting it is this way. And obviously when the person throws the stone downward, he will apply force on a stone. So what will happen? The stone will also apply upward force on him. Okay, I am repeating, listen carefully. The person will apply downward force on the stone to throw it down. The stone will in return apply the upward force on the man. Means stone and man will apply force on each other. If they are applying force on each other, the external force on the system will be zero. Take man and stone together as a one system. Okay. So external force acting on a system is not there. It's zero. The force that stone and man will apply on each other, that is the internal force of the system. External force is zero. And as you remember, in case of external force 0, the center of mass does not move. So displacement of center of mass of the system will be 0. Okay, displacement of center of mass will be 0. From there you can reach to one formula, m1 dx1 bar plus m2 dx2 bar equals to 0. This we already discussed previously also. You have to use this formula whenever you feel that on a system external forces are not there. So center of mass will not displace. Okay. Now here m1 is a mass of the person and m2 is a mass of stone. Okay. But let's first of all calculate dx1 dx2, that is displacement. Obviously if you look at this diagram, the stone will go downward, so the displacement of the stone will be minus 10. Minus 10 meter will be the displacement of the stone. Let's say when the stone goes down by 10 meters, in that time the men will go up, okay, by the distance of y meters. Okay, why the men will go up? It's because they will apply force on each other. On the stone, force is downward. That's why stone starts moving downward. So as a reaction, the force on the men will be upward. So men has to go upward. So displacement of the men is plus y. I am taking upward direction now as a positive and downward direction as negative. Here m1 I will put 50 kg, that is mass of person. Displacement I will put plus y. Plus m2 mass of stone, that will be 0.5 kg. It is given over here. And dx2 is a displacement of the stone, which is minus 10 equal to 0. Okay, anybody can solve it. It's 50y equals to 5. Just solve it. Y will come 0.1 meter. Y 0.1 meter means the displacement of the men is 0.1 meter. Okay. But we don't want to find displacement of the men. We want to find the distance of the men above the floor will be. So men, y we got 0.1 meter. So men will be here when the stone will reach to the bottom. So the distance of the men you please calculate from the ground. From the ground, distance of the men will be 10.1. 10 plus 0.1. That's why C is the correct option for this particular question. Okay. So try to understand. First of all, visualize the situation. Men and the stone together you take as a system. They will apply force on each other. That is the internal force. So center of mass of men and the stone together. Center of mass remains at rest. It will not displace. Okay, but the displacement of the men will be plus y, and displacement of the stone I took minus 10. So try to understand that. So I hope it is very clear. Let's move to the next question now. Okay, so this is the next question now. Here you can read the question. We need to find the center of mass, location of center of mass. Okay, so you can try this question out. Okay, now those are not getting the answer, you can look at this. Here there are n number of particles, masses are given, and the distances from the fixed point are given. Okay, so let's suppose this is the axis on which these all particles are located. This you take as a fixed point. Okay, so fixed point I am taking as the origin only. Its coordinate will be 0, 0. Then here is a point which is at a distance of L from the fixed point. So its coordinate will be L, 0. Here mass m is there. Here is a point which is at a distance of 2L from the fixed point. So its mass here 2m. The point at a distance of 3L has a mass 3m, and so on. Right? So understand the diagram carefully. So you can see in the diagram only coordinates of every point is visible. So we need to find center of mass of this system. X coordinate of center of mass given by m1 x1 plus m2 x2 so on up to nth particle divided by m1 plus m2 up to nth particle. Right? Now just we have to look at the diagram and we have to substitute the things. x coordinate of center of mass, I'm just putting the values. It will be m into L plus 2m into 2L plus 3m into 3L and so on up to last particle, which is nm into nl, divided by m plus 2m plus 3m, so on up to nm. Easy. Now from the numerator, as you can see, ml is constant, so you can take ml outside. It will be 1 plus, then it is 2 square plus 3 square plus, it will go on up to n square. In the denominator also, you can take m common. In the bracket, it will be 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus up to n. Right? It's very easy. Now mm gets cancelled. Now here somewhat mathematics is required. In the mathematics, the sum of n terms. Okay, I am mentioning here formula. You can check the sum of n terms. The sum of first n terms is given by n plus 1 by 2. That you know. Okay, that's why the answer of denominator, the value of denominator will be n plus 1 divided by 2. This I have written for denominator. Now if you look at the numerator, in the numerator it's like 1 square, 2 square, 3 square. So it is the sum of n terms which are n square. Okay. Sum of square terms is given by n plus 1, 2n plus 1 divided by 6. It is in mathematics, you might have seen. It is n plus 1, 2n plus 1 divided by 6. Okay, so it's a sum of n terms of having squares, 1 square, second 2 square, 3 square, like that. So now somewhat terms will get cancelled. On cancelling, ultimately you will reach 2n plus 1 divided by 3. This is the x coordinate of center of mass. That means center of mass is located at a distance of 2n plus 1 by 3 from the fixed point. That's why the answer for this particular question is A. Okay, don't forget here L was also there. See, here L is there. So because of that L, here L will appear. Here also at the end you will get L at the end. Okay, so I hope you got this. So here I tried few problems on the center of mass. You please watch this video and give me the feedback that how many questions you want to be solved in the video, how many questions you want, how much theory we should cover, whether we should cover theory or no. I expect comments from you, okay, for the improvement of this channel. Okay, so if you like it, you do subscribe it. We'll meet in the next lecture with some other topic and lot of numericals on that topic. Till then, goodbye and have a nice day.